good morning, good evening, good afternoon, good night, whatever time of day this video finds you. It's your boy Jay here, and I'm back at it with not more gameplay, actually, something different. You saw the title, you saw the thumbnail. This is 5 weapons I think need the most help, or improvements, or even reworks heading into Sunbreak. We will be talking at length about each weapon that I bring up here, and we're going to establish some, ground rules about the way I think about weapon balancing and buffs and nerfs and all of that before really deep diving into each individual weapon. So without further ado, let's get started. So the topic of weapon balancing in Monster Hunter Rise has been debated ever since the game's release on the Nintendo Switch since back in March, right? And there are some ice cold takes that I could say right now. For example, the longsword is the best blade master weapon. The bow guns are stronger than all of the blade weapons. Boom. Ice cold takes, almost things that are universally agreed upon ever since the release of this game. And I don't know, my philosophy is I would rather buff the weaker things rather than nerf some of the strong things, right? So I'd rather everything get buffed up to longsword levels, bowgun levels, rather than nerfing the bowguns and longsword. Now, I know that sounds crazy, right? I want to buff everything up to longsword levels. I also want to buff the monsters quite a bit from where they're at now in base Rise to justify such a buff to many different weapon typings, right? Like, I want master rank to be crazy, not Monster Hunter Frontier levels crazy, but I would like the monsters to get a big jump in master rank so that, you know, buffing all of these weapons are justified, you know what I mean? So rather than nerfing the top weapons down to where everything else is at, I want to buff the low weapons up and make the monsters have different movesets, maybe change their AI a little bit and buff them too, so that it's all well balanced and justified. Make sense? With all that being said, let's get started with the first weapon I think needs some help before heading to Sunbreak. Oh, by the way, these weapons aren't in any particular order, okay? So just because this weapon is first doesn't mean I think it needs the most help or the least help. Cool? Alright. Enough intro in and talking, let's get into it. That's right. The first weapon that I'm going to talk about today is the Lance, the triple poke and hop, okay? Yes, the weapon that came dead last in the usage rankings that Capcom put out a while ago. I want to see new rankings. I want to see if any weapons have moved up or down since. But yes, Lance came dead last in the rankings, and you know, and I think it's because the weapon is just not super flashy at first. I mean, poke, hop, poke, hop, you know? But there's a lot going on underneath the hood, and it's very hard to show that off. I mean, you got the silk bind counters, and you got the charge swipe that deals quite a bit of damage, you know? So, yeah, the poke, hop, it's not super flashy, and you know, why would you play Lance when you can play something like Switch Axe, right? With the zero-sum discharges and the flying wyverns and the switching and the explosions and the boom, 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 right? And then you got Lance over here just kind of poking and hopping, you know? So I think that's one of the first things that the Lance needs is something a bit more flashy, right? Something kind of crazy. Now, I don't know what that is or can be without kind of destroying the identity of the weapon, right? Which is to use your shield and, you know, your silk bind counters to really stay on the monster and consistently deal out damage and or status, right? I do like the charge swipe move. I do like that move because Lance does need a big Hail Mary move, you know what I'm saying? A move that you can use to wake up a sleeping monster, right? It's got big motion value. Charge that bad boy up and blow. But I think that's something that could be a little bit reworked with the weapon, right? The Lance is about being super accurate with your pokes, right? I mean, you poke straight forward or up at an angle and super accurate. And then you got this charge swipe, which is this big horizontal sweep, which can end up hitting a part of the monster that you're really not aiming for, that you're not poking at, you know what I mean? So I think the charge swipe is a good idea. It's good. We're gonna keep it, actually. But what I would suggest maybe is have 2 charge moves, right? you can charge with X, like if you hold down the X button, so you can, you know, poke and then charge the X, and then when you let it go, it does kind of like a multi-poke, right? And for every level of charge, you get another attack. So if you do level 1 charge, you get 2 attacks, level 2 charge, you get 3 attacks, and level 4 charge, or level 3 charge, you get 4 attacks, right? So you can do potentially up to 6 pokes in a combo, right? Poke, charge, poke, right? And the one big charge, forward poke, right? And it's another forward poke, and it does a bunch of hits. This will allow the lance to be more status oriented than it already is, and more elementally viable, right? Because you're gonna get more hits, poke, right? And have it equal to the damage that the charge swipe currently has. So like, let's say your charge swipe does 200 damage. So if you charge it all the way up to 4 pokes, you do 50 damage per poke, and you still get your 200 damage, you know what I mean? But you'll apply a bit more status or element. Cool. And then the second charge, let's do an A button charge, right? So you can vertical, well, like kind of like a vertical poke. So vertical poke, and then when you charge it, you do a big vertical slap instead of a horizontal slap. That way you still hit the part of the monster that you're poking at, right? You're still very accurate in your pokes, and you get your big Hail Mary one hit, right? This is where you'll get the big 200 damage. This is what you'll use to wake up monsters when they're sleeping, right? You charge the A button poke and slap. That way lance users kind of have a choice in, do I want to be dealing status / elemental damage right now, or do I want to do the one big Hail Mary hit, right? So have 2 charge moves, and that gives the lance a bit more versatility, right? So you can regular poke, charge up a big hit like you do with the horizontal slap, and still be vertical still be accurate by doing it vertically instead of horizontally, or go for the multi-poke, right, which still does the same amount of damage but more hits, so you can apply more status or elemental damage to the monsters you're fighting, right? Cool. So another change I think Lance could get is the Silkbind Twin Vine, right? So you got this long lance, right? You're poking, you're doing your thing. And Twin Vine, you pull out a tiny little kunai and you stab the monster, and it binds you and the monster. Now, at any point after you've stabbed the monster with the kunai, you can put ZL plus B, and you'll jump to the monster's location, right? In the gameplay, I was doing it earlier. You might see me do it again here soon. But the problem I have with that move is you pull out this tiny little kunai, and you've got this big old lance, right? Why not have the wire bug like fly down the end of the lance like in a spiral type motion, you know, make it look a little flashy, make it look dope, and then you poke the monster and now you guys are bound, rather than you pull out a kunai to stab them, right? Give me this range that I have with this lance so I can apply the vine to the monster, rather than pulling out a separate kunai which has super tiny range, and it messes up my positioning because I gotta get super close to apply it. Like, you know, the lance is about positioning and maintaining good positioning so you can consistently deal out damage and block hits, and you're almost this immovable wall. So why do I have to get so close to apply the Twin Vine right, when I'm already in good position? Let me use the range of my lance to apply the vine. Makes sense? So I think that's part of the changes or reworks or buffs that would help the lance become, you know, a bit more used, and you know, have a little bit more fun with it, right? With the new charge attacks, the lance could be a bit more versatile in how it applies status and element, and the Twin Vine change will allow, you know, lance users to kind of maintain their good positioning rather than getting super close to apply this vine, right? Because like Twin Vine, it's great, you know, it's perfect for the lance. As the monsters are, you know, so fast, you know, in Gen 5 these days, you jump around with the monsters and keep up with them, right? Which is part of what the lance does. I'm in your face all the time. I'm gonna block everything you do, and I'm gonna stick right by you, and you're gonna take these pokes. Poke. Consistent damage, consistent element, and you're on them like white on rice. You know what I mean? So Twin Vine's good. I just wish we could use the range of our lance to apply it, which would make more sense than pulling out this tiny little kunai and stabbing it, right? Yeah, so those are some of the things I think Lance should get on the way to Sunbreak, along with stuff that we don't know about, right? Like, we don't know the main gimmick of Sunbreak, right? Like nobody knew the Clutch Claw was coming when Iceborne came out, and I think we're gonna get something that we all don't know we want, and we're gonna get changes to the weapon anyway. But this is just me putting in my 2 cents on what I think about some weapons in the game. So with that, that's Lance. We're gonna move on to the next weapon. Oh yeah, baby, Bug Stick is next. Alright, so Insect Glaive. I like the Insect Glaive. I've recently given it a chance. You've seen my videos, hopefully. I'll put that up in the corner, you know what I'm saying, so you can go check that out. But yes, Bug Stick is the next weapon, man. Insect Glaive really came through in Monster Hunter 4, you know what I'm saying? One of the 2 new weapons that we got back then. So Insect Glaive. So the main draw of Insect Glaive back in the day was like, yo, you can jump now. You know what I'm saying? We got mobility in the air, and like it came through when mounting was first introduced, and it was like the super mount stick. If you wanted to mount monsters, this is how you did it. You did it with the Bug Stick because you were always in the air, right? Cool. And like that was the main draw because none of the other weapons could jump, you know what I mean? It was like you had concrete shoes on when you were hunting. You couldn't jump. You were attached to the floor almost all the time, except for a ledge, which is like one of the rare opportunities where you could jump. Now fast forward to today, we got Monster Hunter Rise. Every weapon has wire bugs, every weapon can jump, right? So the main draw of the Insect Glaive is kinda, why even pick it? You know what I mean? Like every weapon can jump. You know, like you know, being able to jump with the Insect Glaive used to be like, oh my god, we could jump. But now, since everybody has wire bugs, like it's almost, I don't know, why even pick it? You know, some people have this idea that the Insect Glaive is useless in Rise because everybody can jump, which is not true. I mean, the Insect Glaive is a banger. No other weapon in this game is as mobile as the Insect Glaive, and I actually like it, you know. However, it's just, it needs a little bit of help to entice players to pick it up, you know what I mean? So yeah, let's get into a couple things about the Insect Glaive. We're gonna start with Recall Kinsect as a Silkbind art. Okay, like, yeah, sure, you can recall your Kinsect in the air, you get some healing from it, and you get the juices that the Kinsect already sat from, and you know, you get a bit of evasion with it too, right? But I don't know, with this game, and you know, the thing about it being not so difficult, why would I waste a slot on such a defensive art? Does that make sense? Like, these monsters aren't this hard where like I need a super extra heal right here, or I need to be super defensive and always dodging with Recall Kinsect, you know? I would have preferred if we got a flashier offensive art that also helps with mobility, right? And you know, we do kind of have a mobility art that does an attack, right? The lift off move, right? Where, what is it? ZL plus X, right? It kind of, there's 2 ways to jump in this game, right? So you can use that art, and you can also do that in the air, which does like 1 attack, but it's not really all that much. It's not really offensive. It's more of a mobility move, right? So what if instead of that, you could replace it with something that still takes only 1 wire bug, but doesn't maybe make you travel as far, and it does more hits, does more damage, right? As opposed to Recall Kinsect, which is a defensive and healing art in a game where Mega Potions like heal so much of your health off the rip, and you know, you can walk around and Mega Potion up and still kind of evade monsters as you do it. You know, I feel that another healing art on top of how well our potions already heal us, on top of already having super mobility in the air. Like, it's not that often you're gonna get hit in the air if you're managing your dashes well. So I feel like this Silkbind art is just kind of redundant, and we should have got something a bit more flashy, or maybe something that does more damage instead to help entice people into playing the weapon, right? Because Recall Kinsect is a Silkbind art. I mean, you gonna get it and you just immediately gonna turn that off as fast as possible. So yeah. My next point about the Insect Glaives is already kind of something that Capcom is doing, and that is to make maintenance on the weapon a little bit easier, right? So when you're playing Glaive, you got to maintain the sharpness, you got to maintain your stamina, right? Because you use stamina to dash around in the air and to attack in the air, okay? You got to maintain your kinsect stamina, right? So you got to be careful how you send your bug out and when you can bring it back. You also got to maintain your extracts, right? So you see that 1, 2, and 3 up there, you know what I'm saying? You got to get the extracts from the monster. And that buffs up your moves and your mobility and your attacking ability and all that, right? So you got to get your 1, 2, 3 buffs, you got to keep your stamina up, and you got to keep your sharpness up all at the same time, which is it can kind of be a lot, you know what I mean? So yeah, so Capcom has kind of already made this easier by giving us kinsects that extract 2 extracts at once, right? Which is great. However, I still feel it could be a bit of a chore when, all right, I'm ready to attack and oh dang, I'm out of stamina. Or oh, okay, I'm ready to attack. I'm ready to get in there and oh man, my extracts run out. And or you're attacking, you got your extracts up, you got good stamina going, and oh, I gotta stop and sharpen my weapon. Like there's a whole lot to manage when it comes to managing the insect glaive, and you know it kind of leads back to my first point is the extra mobility. It's good. But is it really enough when every weapon in the game has access to wire bugs and can fly through the air, you know what I mean? So I think maybe making the weapon easier to manage and easier for all the pieces to manage, more people will pick up the weapon and enjoy the weapon and not downplay its existence in this game with wire bugs. So yeah, not a whole lot needs to be done for Insect Glaive, but I would just love to see more bug stick users in the air throughout the hunt, you know what I mean? But yeah, so that's enough on the Insect Glaive. We're gonna move on to our next weapon. Oh yeah, Charge Blade is up, the other weapon that was introduced in Gen 4, okay? So, Charge Blade. Charge Blade is not trash, okay? It's just different than what it used to be, okay? Let's go ahead and talk about the first thing, the SAED hitboxes. Definitely leave something to be desired, okay? I think they're just too small, right? Like, it's a charge blade, it's file explosions, it's a huge explosive attack, motion values out the wazoo, boom, 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 boom. And when you do it grounded, it just seems so tiny and easy to miss and hard to hit, you know what I mean? So that's why I think when playing Charge Blade and Rise, Axe Hopper is non-negotiable. You gotta run Axe Hopper. Why? Because you can SAED in the air and like steer it way better than you can on the ground, right? You can do an Axe Hopper, turn around 180 degrees, drop a SAED, and land all your files, you know what I mean? And you can make kind of micro adjustments right before you actually swing and hit the monster to make sure your files hit. But doing that joint grounded, if you can make all your files land consistently, you might be a monster hunter god right now. Cause man, yeah, doing that joint grounded is it's not doing it for me. I say make the triangle, right? Because the files come out in like a triangle ahead of you, right? Make the triangle a little bit longer, a little bit bigger, right? I mean, we're typically fighting pretty big monsters. So I think making the triangle just a little bit bigger and easier to, have all your files land would be dope. And maybe even make it, I don't want to say make it easier to go into SAD, because that's part of the charm, right? Is to line it up correctly, and it takes a while to get into the attack. Like if you could just pop SAD super easily, the Charge Blade will be busted again and it'd be the KO King again, which I don't know how we feel about that. So yeah, the next thing about Charge Blade, Savage Axe mode. I don't think it's called Savage Axe in this game, but you do the mode, you got a switch skill, right? You can choose whether you want to charge your sword or charge your axe mode. I always pick charge your sword because you get the charge on your sword, you can put away your sword, the files bust on all your sword hits, you can put away your sword and keep it, But with Savage Axe mode, when you put away your weapon, that mode is gone and you have to go back into it and load it back up again. Why? You know what I mean? Like, just make it file based like it was in Worldborn. Like, I don't understand why we had to change it. Or maybe you don't even have to make it file based like you did in Worldborn, because now it's a switch skill, right? You can't have both your sword and your axe mode charged up. It's one or the other. So because you took away an option, maybe even make it a little bit, you know, more powerful than it was last time. So I just don't understand why as soon as I put my weapon away, the mode is gone. And why do I have to hold down the button to get the buzzsaw effect? You know, I get giving the player options is good. That way, like, even if you're in axe mode and you don't want to do the spinning axe stuff, you can you know, choose not to do it. But I don't know, just have the swing speed be the same and do the buzzsawing anyway. You know, I feel like it was really good in Iceborne when it was introduced, so I don't know why they changed it up so much. It's really strange, actually. But yeah, Charge Blade, it's not bad. It just has, I don't know, there could be so many different play styles for the Charge Blade, but it kind of seems like we're kind of backed into a corner into one play style being kind of easier and better than the others, if that makes sense. Like, not better in the fact of like raw damage is better, but like definitely way easier to manage than the others, right? So the idea that they made the sword charge and the savage axe charge mode like different switch skills, good idea, but they're kind of not equal in their implementation. In that one, you can sheath the weapon with one and not with the other, which is really strange. And then Axe Hopper SAED versus Grounded SAED mode, right? Like counter peak performance, it would be an awesome, you know, nice playstyle, but I don't want to do any Grounded SAEDs if the hitboxes are what they are, you know what I mean? I'd rather just go for the crazy Axe Hopper joints, you know what I mean? But yeah, that's my piece on Charge Blade. So let's move into the next weapon. Okay, now y'all know that the boomstick was gonna be here, right? We're talking about gun lance, baby. Fun lance, because it is really fun. I mean, look at this opener on this Apex Diablos. That joint is mad fun. Blast dashing around and, you know, popping off shells and stuff, you know what I'm saying? Doing full burst, wyvern fire, boom, 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 poke, poke, poke. It's mad fun. However, this weapon needs help, man. Almost every time you see it on the speedrunning charts is dead last, which isn't the end all be all for a weapon, but this weapon needs some help. All right, so let's get into it. This weapon is like really slow, like to the point where it kind of feels like you're playing a 4th gen game, but we're in a 5th gen game. Like, this weapon is slow. And not the good kind of slow, not like the great sword slow where it's like, yeah, I'm doing big meaty numbers all the time though, because like you're not with the gun lance. That's just not how it's working. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I think we can afford to speed up the gun lance just a little bit. Okay. Another gripe I have with the gun lance is shelling levels. Why? You know, there's only a handful of lances that are at level 5 shelling of each type, right? Be it wide, long, or regular. So if you're not playing a level 5 gun lance, you're gonna be doing suboptimal damage. What? Why not just make shelling scale to your attack? You know what I mean? So that way more gun lances are viable, you know what I mean? Like, instead of just, oh, these are the 4 gun lances you get to pick if you're, you know, fighting a high level monster or if you're at the end game, because these are the only ones that have level 5. I don't know, if maybe give us a way to upgrade the weapon and get level 5 shelling eventually. Maybe make it a what is it, a rampage skill, so you can level up your shelling levels. I don't know, it's just weird to me. Like, make it scale to attack, that way when you boost your attack, you boost your shelling, right? Because I think the point of shelling is to be able to attack a monster but ignore hit stun values, right? Or not, yeah, hit zone values, not hit stun values, hit zone values, right? You do a shell, it's gonna do this amount of damage no matter where you hit it on a monster. Doesn't matter if it's on a hard point, soft point, you hit the shell, you get the damage, right? Which leads me to my next point. Sharpness. Oh my god, this weapon destroys sharpness. If you're not running protective polish, get your whetstones out, okay? You need protective polish, razor sharp, speed sharpening. You need all the skills to help manage your sharpness, because shelling takes away sharpness, which is kind of funny, right? Because like the whole point of shelling is you can ignore the hit zone values, like I said, right? Doesn't matter if you're shelling a super sharp part or a super hard part of the monster or a soft part of the monster, you're gonna do your damage. But like, what's the point if you're gonna use up all your sharpness every time you shell, you know? And kudos to Capcom for giving us the Silkbind art that when you land the counter you get a bit of sharpness back. That's good. We need more stuff like that to help us maintain this level of sharpness when playing this game. So yeah, but now that we're on Silkbind arts, Hail Cutter, booty cheeks. I mean, in the amount of time it takes for you to do a Hail Cutter, you can do like, what is it, 2 soaring kicks with longsword. It just takes so long to do, and the damage payout is just not enough for what it is. Even if you do, what is it, full burst Hail Cutter into another full burst into Wyvern Stake, it's just not, I don't know. Get rid of Hail Cutter ASAP. It just takes too long to do, leaves you open, and yeah, sure, it's cool, it refills your shells like really quickly, but I don't know, you got quick reload as a switch skill, like, so Hail Cutter is pretty much null and void. Like, you can reload your shells at a moment's notice anyway, so why even run Hail Cutter? Useless skill. Toss it in the trash or rework it, maybe make it faster, maybe make it a little different, you know? So yeah, something I could think of for gun lance. So it's a gun lance, right? Like, we have bow guns and they shoot ammo. So why not give gun lance a little piece of that action, right? Maybe give shells, or maybe give gun lance the ability to change shells. So what I mean by that is, like, you know, you got your regular shelling does damage, right? But what if you had like different types of shells? Like, you have different types of ammo. So what if you had like a paralysis shell, or poison shelling, or blast shelling, right? Which would give gun lances a bit more utility, right? So like, yeah, I'm gonna put in my paralysis shells and shell, get the stun, get this full burst off with a Wyvern Stake, and then maybe switch to venom shelling. Shell, cool, got the poison, switch to blast shelling, shell, boom, you know, and you can kind of, you know, choose what type of shelling you want for what monster you get, right? Giving it more of a bit of versatility. And I mean, it's not limited to statuses. Maybe you could do it, you know, fire shell, water shelling, thunder shelling, whatever you want. I mean, we already have the menus in the game the same way bowguns do, right? So just make it when you go to change an item, you can switch the type of shells that you reload into your shell. I mean, reload into your gun lance and shoot the shells off, right? Which would give shelling a bit more utility, and kind of pull charge shelling back into the mix, right? I don't know anybody who plays gun lance and actually does charge shelling. Everybody just ditches it for blast dash because it's fun, it's cool. Who doesn't want to rock it around, you know what I mean? But I feel like if we had the status shelling or elemental shelling, and you know, using a charge shell will do 2 to 3 times the amount of status or element that a regular shell does, it would give us another reason to maybe explore that type of build, right? As opposed to, bro, you using charge shelling, why are you not blast dashing? You know what I mean? So yeah, that's pretty much my spiel on the gun lance, okay? Needs a lot of help, needs quite a bit of changes. Speed it up. Master rank monsters only get faster, and ditch the shelling levels, man. Make it scale to your attack. That way, when you buff up your attack, you buff up your shelling level, right? And you can use a myriad of gun lances. You can have a bunch of gun lances that are viable and good to use, as opposed to 3 or 4 that carry the level 5 shelling of your type. But yeah, that's it on the gun lance. We're gonna move into our final weapon. Those of you that know me might be surprised, because hammer is my favorite weapon in the series. It's my baby. But I gotta be honest, it could stand to use a bit of changes, okay? Yeah, so of course I'm gonna be a little bit biased. I'm the most passionate about hammer, but it is what it is. We're gonna get that out the way, and let's get to talking about my favorite weapon in the series, the hammer. Okay, number one, impact crater. It makes a whole lot of the moveset almost null and void. It's just so strong compared to the rest of your tools. It takes very little time to actually do, right? Like, yeah, your hammer charge affects it, but when you switch your charging styles, right? When you switch from courage back to normal or strength back to normal, you immediately get a level 3 charge. So like the go-to move when you get it down is charge a little bit, push A to switch, you're at max charge, you go into impact crater. Like, it's so fast and it does so much damage. Like, on the right monster, you might be able to hit 1,000 damage with a good impact crater. Easy, okay? Too strong. Or let me rephrase that. It's not too strong. It's too strong in relation to the rest of the kit, right? Like, make some of the other moves in the kit as viable, right? For example, the Big Bang combo. It's this large combo. It takes forever to do, but it's not as strong as busting out a couple impact craters, especially if you have 3 wire bugs on and max wire bug whisper, and you're using a hammer that has a silk bind boost. Like, if you've got 3 wire bugs, right, you're gonna get that first impact crater out the way I said, right? You charge, you switch, boom, knock it out. Now, if right after that you start charging again, by the time you get that first wire bug charged up, you're ready to do a second one. You can do 2 impact craters in a single down if you're nice and icy and good. You know what I'm saying? If you're good at the game, you can bust out 2 impact craters in a single down. There's no reason to do anything else. You know what I mean? Like, a Big Bang is not going to give you damage comparable to 2 impact craters. It's just not going to do it. Not a complete Big Bang combo. Or a couple golf swing is not going to give you the amount of damage 2 impact craters can give you. So you do impact crater twice. That's what the weapon is, right? So how do we remedy that? Make some of the other moves stronger. Make the Big Bang combo stronger. And I really don't mind if you make, I don't know, 60% of the damage come from the final hit, right? It's supposed to be this long combo, takes a while to pull off. Put a bunch of the damage at the end so that you only do it when the monster is in a down, right? When a monster is knocked out, right? I mean, the weapon is supposed to be the KO king, right? Arguably in this game, Sword and Shield is the KO king with their Metsu Shoryugeki. I'm happy for my SNS bros, okay? I'm happy for y'all, but man, damn, the hammer is supposed to be the knockout king, but like, hammer is just kind of an afterthought when it comes to knockout, because you got the SNS, which is really good at doing KOs, right? Boom, there's that. Charge Blade is pretty decent at doing KOs, boom. And then Endemic Life, the Thunder Beetle exists. Bro, if you throw a Thunder Beetle at a monster, every hit to the head is now a KO hit. Every weapon in the game can KO. I swear. Like, if you get a Thunder Beetle off, you're getting a KO. It's free, it's easy, it's free real estate. So like, what's the point of playing hammer, right? Which is like, yeah, bro, we do KOs, we do blunt damage, right? When you have Sword and Shield sitting right there with the Metsu Shoryugeki, deals a bunch of KO damage if you land the Metsu on the head, and it can cut tails, and it's super versatile, and it has a defensive option with a shield, and it has another defensive option with a backstep, excuse me, invincible backstep. Why play hammer, right? Oh, for the KOs. Bro, if you want to play for the KOs, you play Sword and Shield. You can play Exhaust Switch Axe, which is really good in this game. Hell, even greatsword users are getting KOs with the shoulder tackles now. So it's like, hammer is the KO king? So here's my solution to that. Don't make hammer get easier KOs. Don't do it. Leave it the way it is. However, put a modifier on the weapon to where it does more damage on KO'd opponents, right? So I don't know how hard this is or would be to program, but put a modifier on damage that hammer deals, I don't want to go crazy and be like, yeah, double damage on a KO'd monster, but like, you know, maybe 1.5 damage on a KO'd monster. That way, when you get a KO, the hammer is the best weapon to take advantage of a KO, right? I just listed off all these other weapons that can assist in getting a KO. So imagine, oh yeah, and the actual KO king of the game is heavy bowgun, by the way. So imagine you're in a hunt with a heavy bowgun, a sword and shield, a switch axe with exhaust, and a hammer, right? When that monster gets KO'd, get out of the way of the strong blunt impact zone, because hammer does the most damage while the monster's KO'd, right? Which would kind of give it back its KO king moniker in a long roundabout kind of way. It's the KO king in that it does the best at taking advantage of KO'd monsters due to this new modifier, you know what I mean? So yeah, I think that would be super dope to kind of give hammer back its title as KO king, right? So next thing I want to talk about with the hammer is water strike. Water strike is good. Hammer usually is a weapon that has no defensive options. All you can do is roll, right? You're supposed to walk around always charging. However, we got water strike this time, so maybe always charging is not good. But the thing about water strike is the only reward you get from water strike is you can go into a golf swing after landing a successful water strike, or you can go into a charge. This charge is a base charge. It's not like, oh, you land a water strike, good job Hunter for landing that counter, here's a fully charged hammer for you. No, that's not how this works. You charging up from 0, buddy. And also, yeah, you can go into a golf swing. But the thing about the golf swing is it's very rare that the monster's like good hit zones are going to be right where you need it when you land a water strike, right? You kind of land a water strike, I don't want to say out of desperation, but like, you know, monsters in the 5th gen, they move so fast, like they're zipping by you, they're doing attacks, they're all over the place. So if you land a water strike into a golf swing, you're not gonna hit nothing good, you're not gonna get that much damage out of it, right? Compare this to the longsword's sheath counter, which nets them a spirit gauge, and they do a bunch of damage. You know what I mean? So it's like, dude, why don't we give water strike a little bit more? So when you land a water strike and you go into a charge, give me a full charge, right? So that I can reposition, get to my good hit zone value, get to the head, get my KO with my level 3 charge that I've earned through doing a water strike, you know? But I don't know. I mean, water strike is good. I like that it's here, but I don't know. I just feel like it's very underwhelming as a counter when compared to the rest of the counters in the game when it comes to lance, especially longsword. Oh my god, longsword counter gets so much reward for landing it, whereas arguably water strike is harder to land, and it'll be more rare to land because as a hammer you'll always be charging, right? You can move while you charge, whereas like longsword you can sheath or you can counter as long as you're attacking. It's crazy. It's counter attack the weapon. So they give hammer a counter, and it's kind of meh. Oh well, at least we don't get any damage when we successfully land it, and that's pretty good. So yeah, that's my piece on the hammer. I love this weapon, but oh my god, is it the impact crater machine. I want to be able to do other things with this weapon instead of just landing impact crater, impact crater, impact crater. Give other moves the spotlight and the time of day, and also give hammer its moniker of KO King back, even though it's not directly like the best weapon for doing KOs, but make it the best weapon at taking advantage of KOs, right? Give it that little modifier, even 1.25x, right, or 1.5x. Nothing crazy like 3 times the amount of damage when the monster's KO'd, then hammer gets kind of crazy. But, you know, let me do a little extra damage to KO'd monsters because this is the KO weapon, right? So yeah, that is the end of my piece on hammer, and we're gonna move into this outro. Boom, so there you have it. 5 weapons I think need buffs, changes, and or reworks. Like, not everything is a buff, right? I just maybe want certain skills to work a little differently or certain weapons to work a little differently. But overall, I really like Rise as a game, and I'm super hyped that Sunbreak is coming up. But I want to hear your thoughts about some of the things I said down here. Did I just come up in here and spout some lies off? Man, go down in the comment section and tell me. Let's have a discussion about these weapons, man. And did your weapon show up here? What do you think about maybe the weapons you use? Am I on point? Am I crazy? Do I want to buff the hammer too much? Let me know in the comment section down below. I will reply to every single comment that comes across this video. And of course, subscribe and like if you want more Monster Hunter content like this. As always, guys, happy hunting. Peace.